This drawing exercise is what I call my point of view exercise. What I want to talk about is the fact that if you look straight onto an object and, straight down on it, you'll see that this is roll of toilet paper. You're going to see the roundness of this, and it's going to look perfectly round because you're looking straight at it. And this is going to look like it's right in the middle. You won't see much at all of the sides. And as soon as I start turning this, then this top becomes a little bit more oval until you get to the point, and I'm going to just do several turns here, until you get to the point where you cannot see the top at all, and you're just seeing straight across through this. So at each one of those points, you see less and less of that top and more of the sides. So this is what happens with perspective and point of view. So if you're looking down at a beach, you'll see lots of the beach from the top of the cliff. If you get down on the beach and you're looking out toward the ocean, the beach looks very flat and you don't see very much in that horizon area. So it's very applicable to everything we do, but it takes some learning to feel comfortable with it. So what I'm going to suggest, I'm going to work from, and I'm going to suggest that you do this at home with your own three-dimensional object rather than working from one of my photographs. Roll of toilet paper works wonderful for a cylinder. A coffee cup works great for a cylinder as well. Its only complication is its handle, and the handles are tricky because of the way they wrap and turn, and they're sort of hard to see how they work. So you can ignore the handle to begin with, but do the same thing with it. Do it at several different angles, look directly into it, turn it, look at it sideways. Now the other thing that I want to tell you about is measuring. So far we haven't done any measuring on anything, but for this, and actually I'm going to put it on this board, and I'm pretty sure you can still see it up there. Turn it toward me. Did I want to turn it toward me? I actually want to turn it away from me, just because what I want to see is the fact that when it's partially turned, then the measurement from here to here becomes different than what the measurement from here to here is. If I come in here and I actually measure the cup, it's going to be identical because that's what a cup is, but my vision of it, what I see, is not that way. So if I hold a pencil, and this is all a relative thing, I don't do it with a ruler, I want to just do it where I have a relative thing. I'm going to hold a pencil square to as though this was a paper here, square to me, and I'm going to close one eye, and I'm going to measure how far I'm going to hold this pencil about halfway between my body and the object. So hopefully you can actually see me with this pencil. And so I'm going to figure out how wide that is, and then I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to stay the same distance away. I'm going to turn and come over here, and I'm going to find one of those edges where my thumb and finger are holding it, and I'm going to go up and see how far it is across. Now I'm seeing that it's a little over half the width of this way from her. So if I do this on my page, this is how wide that was. And if I run a line through this, now I said that was a little over half, so half is this, a little over half is about that. So that's going to be my width. So it's going to be this and the same distance there. So that's going to be the outside dimensions of that cup. And as we draw an oval in here, and it has to oval, it's a little bit rounded on those ends, that's going to be the shape of that top. And then the sides come down. Yeah, that's my next thing to measure, is how high is the cup in relation to the widest part of this cup. And one reason why I don't use a measuring thing is I might not hold my hand at the same distance all the time, but as long as I keep it at the same distance for both the measurements, it will be accurate. So it's a relative thing. Is it the same width? Is it longer? And about how much longer is it? So let's see, make sure that I'm at the same distance away here. And I keep this vertical as I work. It's a little more than this width. So if this width is to here, and it's a little bit more, then the cup's going to come down to there. Now the other thing is that the curve at the bottom of the cylinder is going to match the curve at the top. So that's going to have that same curve. So I just sort of look up, so let me get a line, let me run a line through this so that we can be a little more accurate on the width. Then that's that. That curve is going to match the curve above, and then these guys are going to come straight down. Now if this was a very tall cylinder, I would start seeing a difference between the width of the top and the bottom from that same thing, but it's not. And then these ends curve just a little bit, and then we can do our shading on it if we wish. And notice on the inside that it's darkest back in this area here. That's my darkest area. And then on the cup itself, and actually I'm having a hard time with this cup because it's got a very dark surface on it, so I'm having a hard time seeing that. And I'm going to take and turn it around because it's lighter on the other side, and hopefully I can see, yes, now I can see that I've got a little bit of light coming in from this direction and most of my light coming from this direction. So my darkest part on this cup is down in through this area here, and then there's a very nice light. Right now I don't have my soft pencil. Let's get into that 6B pencil. And there's a light edge on the top of that. Just slowly work my way in. Don't press too hard to start with. You can always go darker, but when it gets really dark, sometimes it's hard to erase it out. And then grade it by lifting the pencil a little bit and being a little soft with it. Don't press as hard, and you won't get as dark of lines until we get out into here where it's all darker than that white rim, but and then that gets darker and darker. It's not totally black, but it's pretty dark gray. And fill that in until we get to this rim. This is a little uneven here. Let's build that over just a wee touch and then make this even darker in here. And then the outer part of the cup is going to have the same sort of thing. It's going to grade across, and it's actually a little bit of darkness right here because there's a shadow from that handle coming down onto there. My handle is actually in its easiest position to draw right now. Not that any position is totally easy, but it's the easiest one in that it's square to this. And so I can see this handle here, and then it comes way down into there. And then how much can I see of the handle where? There's a top to this handle that shifts until you can't really see any out there. And then from inside of here we can see inside to this other part of this. And there's a side here. And then I have a dark shadow, so this helps me see the sides of this. I have a dark shadow that runs right along the side of this handle. Okay. Let's just make this a little bit darker in here. I'm being a little bit rough on this. If I really wanted to spend a lot more time, I could get a much smoother finish on this, and maybe if I do a little diagonal, that will help. So you end up with a little bit of bounce light on this far side over here. Let's just smooth this out some, and then I want to come in with my eraser because this needs to be white right up on the lip. Okay, and it has a shadow. This is sitting against something that's leaning away from me. So actually I have a little shadow right here. Okay, good enough. It's nowhere near a completed. It's really what I would call pretty sketchy, but it is showing you this thing that about the width and the height of this hole, how this is parallel as it runs down, and that this curve matches that curve. And then if you're going to put the handle on here, I need to do something here. This is not quite right. Yeah, it's got a little more curve up in there. Oops, and you can see that was the HB and I couldn't get it dark enough. And now I probably can't put this on top of there because it's so hard. Okay. And that is the gist of what this is all about. Today we're going to be doing several different views of these so that you can see it, draw it, and do a little bit of shading on them. So using the cup or using a roll of paper towels. I haven't done this with a box, but I will put some photographs of a box up for you to work from if you want to work with a box. So those are what this is all about. At the end of the video, I'm going to put up a photograph that has a round bowl with a square planter box in it with a plant coming out of the top so that you can play around with something else other than just cups in a little more complex situation. So that's going to be it for now, and you'll be able to ask me questions.